Hi guys, this is Prashant Rao, and I thought we'll look at a couple of charts. Last time I was looking at the NASDAQ and gold, so I thought we'll revisit that. Seems like uh, we've kind of been in the same around the same area. There's been no massive swing upwards or downwards either ways. So I thought it's just worth taking a look. So let's take a look at gold. With gold, as you can see, we were in this double top and kind of a descending triangle that was forming here. Uh, that seems to be continuing. It just broke out of this triangle area. I guess tomorrow is a non-farm payroll uh, report, and I guess it's going to either rocket upwards or head straight down. So we'll have to see where this goes, but looking at the patterns, it seems like it should be heading downwards, but we'll see. The thing about uh, these patterns when you're not sure is you want to make sure that you are reducing your risk on the trade. So although you see this descending triangle, it kind of broke out now. It's a little uncertain where it's headed. Still could come all the way down. So you probably want to reduce the amount of risk that you want to take and maybe put an entry point here instead of normally what I would do is probably around this area here. So I did a couple of trades in between and got down to this area. I was lucky to take some profits, but given the current situation, this is what I would probably do. And then keep your stop loss wide uh, to the top end of this. Um, so situations like this, reduce your risk, and if it doesn't work out, get out as soon as you can. Because if it heads upwards, it might just rocket upwards. Sometimes I place bi-directional bets when I'm not entirely sure where it's headed. I'm not so inclined to do that at this point, given this triangle and double top formation. So we'll see where this goes. And let's take a look at see if there's anything interesting on the weekly. On the weekly, again, there's this key reversal and a couple of inside weak bars with this descending formation. So my sense is we're going to probably test around this area and reach somewhere around this point, 1600, and that's what the double top on the daily seems to indicate as well. But we'll see. So now let's take a look at the NASDAQ. On the weekly, last week we saw this key reversal, and here we see another reversal that's forming again. Tomorrow we'll have to see what happens. It's important to look at these bars only at the close of the week for the one for the last one that you're looking at, because anything might happen given the event that's coming up tomorrow, which is non-farm payroll, and might just go all the way down here and erase all of the gains, in which case it would be extremely bearish and you definitely want to try and get in over here. So we got to wait for the price action tomorrow, but if this indeed closes higher and forms another key reversal, this is known as an outside reversal. So where the market does one thing and this is a complete reversal, a key reversal, and then another key reversal in the opposite direction, that's called an outside reversal. And outside reversals, they tend to move really fast, so you could see NASDAQ going much higher. I suspect that we'll see some resistance around this range. This is one of the gaps in the futures that wasn't covered, and my suspicion is we'll get around here and we might uh, tip back. So we'll see what happens. So keep an eye, and if it does come down, then you could try and get in here. And again, given the size of these bars, volatility is high, so make sure your risk is managed well. So that's that. Let's see if there's anything on the daily that we can see. Not a whole lot. I mean, on the daily, it feels like it's going higher. So again, the weekly is a lot more clearer. So let's see what happens tomorrow. See if other indexes are kind of lining up and telling the same story. So here you can see that there is some divergence in the indexes. Generally, if the rally is broad based and if it's a genuine rally, you tend to have all three indexes, NASDAQ, S&P, and Dow Jones all lining up together. This does not seem to be lining up with what NASDAQ is saying. Let's look at S&P, same story, and let's look at Russell, kind of the same thing. So all of these indexes seem to be headed lower, but NASDAQ is in general looking a little more bullish. So we'll see tomorrow, and my sense is we might still see a pullback, given that we're seeing some misalignment across these indexes. So that's that. Let's take a look at a couple of charts that we saw previously. I think Amazon still continuing to demonstrate the same double top. It's crossed the it's crossed the neckline. It's kind of not able to cross higher, so we'll see again what happens. But if it goes down, then that means you're likely to see some broad-based, given the size of, given that this is a behemoth, it's going to bring down the market along with it if it heads downwards. So that might be what triggers the NASDAQ to pull back a little bit. So I think it'll be an interesting day to see what happens here. But still, the charts are saying as of this time that it's going to be headed lower. Let's look at a couple of others. See if there's anything interesting. No change. Nothing that you can sort of ascertain here. Seems to be headed higher. Let's look at Microsoft. It's reaching its previous highs, something to watch out for. Generally, the markets don't just simply cut through this like knife through butter. You generally expect to see some consolidation at such a major top like this. So watch out for that. Again, this is one of those mega caps. So if it starts heading downwards, similar to Amazon, it's going to take down the rest of the market with it. Let's look at Apple. It's starting to fill this gap. It's possible it might get to 310 or even here before it starts to roll backwards. As of now, it's a little unclear where it's headed. Let's look at oil. So in this chart, this is the daily price of oil, and we seem to be again seeing a few reversals on the daily. So it opened on the high, closed on the low, and then it tried to go higher and it closed on the low. And right now it seems to be breaking through this. I know this chart looks really strange because of this bar here, but Let's see if we can look at a smaller interval. Um, Maybe that might help. Oh, there you go. Okay, this makes a lot more sense now. So if you see those daily bars are basically this area here. So we're definitely forming some kind of a top, and we're crossing this neckline. If we do, then price is probably going somewhere around here to this, around this level. So as of now, I've planned to open a short here and see where it heads and keep my stop loss around here. So that's that. So let's take a look at a couple of Forex pairs. In my mind, I think this has one of the best risk-reward ratios. So if you look at this, this is in a descending triangle formation and is clearly trending downwards. In between, there was this noise during the pandemic, but if you see, it's essentially the pattern is kind of continuing the way it was going. So it was already going to tip over, and it just corrected itself, came back to where it should be, and start heading lower. If you look at the weekly, or rather the monthly, it's a little more clear. So it was already in a descending triangle pattern, and I suspect that we'll see around 102 here, and that's probably 1,000 pips from where we are, and that's a very big number. So I'm currently short the Japanese yen. I've been short at various points in time. I think this has the best risk reward opportunities that I've seen. Same goes for US dollar, Canadian dollar. It's in a descending triangle formation and is likely to tip over. I'm currently short Canadian dollar, US dollar, Canadian dollar as well. The other one that is of particular interest to me is the Australian dollar and US dollar. So let's take a look at the monthly. The Australian dollar is, I think, formed a major bottom. So you can see that this is pretty much as low as it went, and that's over the last 10 plus years. And now it formed this bottom. We saw this key reversal, and if this trend continues, there's massive gains to be made here. So it might head all the way from 65 to maybe even $1, and that's a huge move. So I'm currently long the Australian dollar, US dollar. So those are the pairs I'm looking at. There are some others as well, but these three by far are the most interesting to me right now. And I generally don't trade anything that has more than a risk reward ratio of 1:3. Simply not worth the time for anything less than 3 times the risk. So I think that's all for now. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you next time.